All right, let's go to our guest line and bring on our one guest today. You can see him tonight on the TV version of Orange Nation as well. Our good friend Mike McAllister for CuseNation.com joining us. Mike, all right, so Paulie asked me this question right off the bat today. I'll ask you. He said, simply put, what was the biggest thing that stood out to you from the win over Georgia Tech? It could be a player, a coach, the atmosphere, whatever you want it to be. What was the biggest thing that stood out to you?
That it felt like they were more than 3 points better than Georgia Tech, and it just, kind of let it get closer than it probably should have been, but it really felt like that was, a 2+ score victory for Syracuse, in my opinion, the way most of the game played out. And, I think part of that is because of some of the adjustments the coaching staff made. If I was going to go something else, it would probably be that they had a major issue in week 1, which was the run defense and tackling. And in week 2, it was significantly improved. So, I think you feel pretty good about this staff overall in terms of their ability to game plan, in terms of their ability to make adjustments in game, in terms of their ability to make adjustments week to week, and really tailor what they're going to do and what their approach is for the opponent ahead.
A lot to like about the win, obviously, and as you mentioned, since you brought it up here about the something to work on from week 1 to week 2, there's something to work on here in the bye week, and that's special teams. We saw block punt, block field goal, kickoff out of bounds to start the second half, onside kick late that they didn't handle well, and gave Georgia Tech some life. Any concern about that, or was it just one of those days for the special teams, and you think they'll shore that up, or was there something fundamentally that you felt like needs to change and might be an issue changing?
I don't know that there's something fundamentally that needs to change. I heard a stat during the game that Georgia Tech, I believe, was 3rd or 4th nationally last year in blocked kicks. So it's something that they do. It's clearly, like when you would have to play Virginia Tech back in the day, in the Frank Beamer days, you knew that on special teams they were going to be aggressive, and that was a key area for them. Georgia Tech is really good on special teams. Certainly you don't want it to be what it was. I think the blocked punt and the blocked kick you can absorb. Really the biggest issue to me was the failure to recover the onside kick, because those, in theory, if the rest of the season goes the way you want it to go, you're going to run into situations where teams need to get onside kicks late in order to try to make a comeback against you, and you have to be better than what they were on Saturday. Now, Fran Brown took full responsibility for that after the game. I guess that's part of the accountability in Dart that he preaches, and said that, there needs to be better communication on who needs to do what and what everyone's responsibilities are and what position everyone's in. Given what I've seen from this coaching staff in terms of their ability to fix things from week 1 to week 2, I feel pretty confident in saying that the next time they're in that situation, those results won't repeat themselves. So for now, I'd say it's just one of those things where you chalk it up to bad day for the special teams and you move on. If I see it happen again, then I'll start to be a little more concerned.
Let's talk about the offense. And, Kyle McCord came here with high expectations, and we all said, okay, he's an upgrade from Garrett Schrader. I guess I didn't fully expect him to be this much of an upgrade. I think he's surpassed expectations, even though expectations were legitimately high when he got here. What has stood out to you from his 2 performances, and I guess the one against Georgia Tech in particular over the weekend?
I'm with you on the expectations. I think during the pregame show prior to the season opener, you asked me specifically if Ryan Nassib's single season record for passing yards at Syracuse was in jeopardy. And I was pretty emphatic and said I didn't think so. And yet, if you look at him right now, he's on pace to shatter that.
Yeah, well over the pace, yes.
Well over, I think 700-plus yards over what Ryan Nassib's mark was, and that doesn't even include if he plays in a bowl game or potentially college football playoff, I guess, if you want to get real crazy right now. But, yeah, I mean, to me, the biggest thing is it's not just the numbers, it's some of the throws that he makes. There was a deep out where he hit Zeed Haynes. It was like a 15, 20-yard out where if he doesn't put that ball right where he does, there's a potential that gets intercepted if it's underthrown at all. That's a really tough throw to make. There was another one where he threw one over the middle to Amari Hatcher. He kind of dropped the ball in a bucket between 3 defenders, and that's a throw that I don't think anyone, even perhaps Ryan Nassib, over the last 20-plus years at Syracuse could have made. I mean, it's not just the numbers. It's his command. They get into a situation where yes, on Saturday, Georgia Tech has all the momentum. They've scored twice in a row. You're only up by 3. If you go 3 and out, Georgia Tech's going to have the ball back with a chance to tie or win the game. And he completes a pass to Oronde Gadsden to give them the first down and sort of get themselves in the right mindset again. His ability to make critical throws in critical situations, he's extremely accurate. He's been about as perfect as you can be from the quarterback position through 2 weeks. It's been extremely impressive. Seems like every other throw, I'm just kind of shaking my head saying that's a next level NFL level throw.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Me too. And we've talked a lot about, the quarterback. We've talked a lot about his weapons this year. We haven't talked a ton about the offensive line, and I think that was a big question mark, right, for everybody, including you going into the season, is how good is the offensive line? Will they be able to give him time to throw? Because if they do, we know Kyle McCord is a really good quarterback. What have you made of the O-line to this point? I guess if you had to grade him, you giving him an A, maybe not quite an A, but, I mean, it's been encouraging.
Yeah, I would say it's been encouraging. I'd say I'd put them at maybe a B+ because I thought they gave up a little bit more pressure against Ohio than I expected, but they were significantly better against Georgia Tech. There really wasn't many situations in that game on Saturday where you felt like Kyle McCord had people in his face. He had a clean pocket a vast majority of the game, and if they continue to give him that all year, he's going to keep putting up video game-like numbers all year round. So I'd give it a B+ because I still think, especially early in games, there's a little bit more they could do in terms of run blocking. But if you're asking just as a pass protection, I'd still probably say B+, A- because I do think they weren't as good in week 1 as what we saw on Saturday, but certainly the fact that they showed improvement when the competition improved is also encouraging. And the fact that they've still got a couple of guys that started last year that are on the bench, Enrique Cruz most notably, who isn't starting. So this seems like they're good, they're talented, they're improving, and they're deep, which are things that we really haven't been able to say about the offensive line the last few years.
On the other side of the ball, as you alluded to, the run defense was an issue against Ohio. It was much better against Georgia Tech. They held the Yellow Jackets to about half their season average, which is good news there. First game without Marlowe Wax. Did you miss him at all? I mean, obviously they're going to miss him at some point, but do you feel like they collectively made up for his absence against the Yellow Jackets?
Yeah, for the most part. There was the second touchdown run from Haynes King where he ran in from, 26 yards out, and he really wasn't touched at all. That was a play where that was the most notable to me that they really missed him. Yeah. Because that's a situation where, he kind of fakes the handoff and then fakes the toss, and everybody bit on one of those two fakes. And so when he then, after the second fake, turned it upfield, there was nobody there. A veteran like Marlowe Wax, I feel like he is on top of that, doesn't fall for those fakes, and is right there to meet Haynes King in that hole and prevent the long run. So that was really the most glaring individual play. Largely, though, I thought with the game plan of putting Fidel Diggs at middle linebacker and letting him spy Haynes King, that being the primary game plan, which was try to keep Haynes King in the pocket and prevent him from running all over you, I think that and some other guys stepping up, they were able to absorb that for this game.
I want to jump back to the offense for a second. I wanted to ask you about the running back situation, and we know LaQuinn Allen is the guy, and, Fran Brown said after the game, he wants the ball every play. He's got to understand, we need you all season, son. You can't have the ball every play. And with that in mind, we saw Will Nixon get a lot of run, 9 carries for 40 yards. He also caught a pass out of the backfield for 20 yards. Has he been one of the early season surprises to you, how much he's been involved?
Yeah, he has, because I really thought that a lot of the things we're seeing him do, you've seen Willis do a lot more, being the primary backup, getting a bunch of carries, and we've seen him mixed in here and there, but I really thought that when Allen wasn't in there, Willis was going to be the guy, and he hasn't been. But, again, that doesn't mean that he's not extremely talented and that the future isn't very bright for him. But, Will Nixon was on a team that was in the national championship game last year and has a lot of experience, and I think can give this team a lot of things when he's spelling LaQuinn Allen. And he showcased that last game. He can run between the tackles. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He's good in pass protection, which I think is a little underrated when you take Allen out and you put Will Nixon in a third down situation, being able to rely on him in pass protection if he's got to pick up a blitz or something like that, that's extremely important. So he gives Syracuse a ton as a backup running back, and I think he's proven that he's more than capable of making some plays as well.
All right, Mike, so early bye week. Do you think this comes at a good time? I mean, it's odd for it to be so early, and they've got all this momentum. What do you hope the team gets out of this week?
Yeah, I think, resting a couple of guys that maybe have some minor nicks. We're not aware of anyone that has any significant injury. Maybe some of the guys that have been injured and haven't been able to play all that much, perhaps most notably Justice Ross Simmons, get some of those guys back and be even more healthy going into your week 4 matchup against Stanford, and then work on some of the other things to shore up some of the deficiencies. The run defense was better against Georgia Tech. There were still some areas that they can get even better, especially when you don't have Fadil Diggs playing middle linebacker. He's not going to be doing that game in and game out, we don't expect. And then shore up some of the issues on special teams. There's certainly things they can work on. And so it's really just kind of working on some of those details, making sure everyone's good health-wise, and then, having 2 weeks to prepare for a Stanford team that's going to come in physical and looking to try to pull off an upset.
All right, Mike. Great stuff. We look forward to seeing you on the TV side of things tonight.